It's one thing to understand two-point perspective in a simple diagram of eye level, or maybe you've heard it as horizon, two vanishing points and a plain box placed on it. But how do we understand these principles if we want to be inside the box? How does it work then? How do I scale objects within that interior space if I'm creating this from my imagination? Let me show you in this video. We'll start with our traditional two-point perspective diagram. So here we have eye level, we have two vanishing points, and we're looking at an angle onto our box, or if you like, our room. However, we are outside of this room. So how do we draw it so that we get inside the room? In my one-point perspective interior video, I talked about bringing these lines forward over the top of the wall to increase the space and enclose us. However, if we're not standing there, but we're standing, say, here, looking at our box, then clearly that doesn't bring us into this room at all. In fact, however far forward we bring this wall out, we are always going to be outside the box. So how do we position vanishing points so that we can actually go inside this shape we're creating? Again, we need an eye level and we need a corner of our room, because in two-point perspective, we're not looking straight on at a wall, we're looking at an angle. But what we need to do is to position our vanishing points so that they are behind the walls that we're looking at. However, instead of this being the section that we take, this is what we're using. So this becomes one wall of our room, and this becomes the other. And we can see that our vanishing points are not outside of our room, they're behind the walls that are enclosing us. Now in this case, eye level happens to be about in the center of the wall height, but that doesn't have to be the case. And can you notice, if we were to end our wall here to make the vanishing point on the outside of the wall, then suddenly we're looking at the outside of this wall. And we're not going to see into our room at all. We are going to be outside of this new floor space. So to create interior perspective, we have to make sure that the vanishing points are behind the walls that we're looking at. Let's try this again now and add some figures into our room and a few features such as windows and doors. So let's draw a room on a smaller scale and see how we go positioning figures as well as some other architectural features in that room. First, of course, we need our eye level, and we need one of the corners of our room, and we need a vanishing point. And we need the other side corner of that wall, and we need a vanishing point now behind this wall that we're looking at. So here we have our room that obviously encloses us. This wall passes to our left, and this wall is obviously passing to our right. Let's assume in this diagram that our eye level line for the perspective is actually the level of people's eyes who might be in this room. If we wanted to put someone here, then their eye level needs to be on this same line. And we'll put someone on this side of the room as well. Now, if we wanted to put a row of windows, say, on this wall, then it's really much the same as if this were an outside wall. We decide the height of our windows, we get the perspective angle lines, and then we work out where we want to put them. If we wanted to put a door on the other side, if this is eye level, then we probably want the door to be there, to be that high. And now we have the line here for the top of the doorway, and so forth. And if we wanted to place objects in this room, then we use the same vanishing points. How does it work though, placing figures, if the perspective eye level is not the same as the eye level of the people we've placed in our room? What happens if the eye level is very high and we're more looking down on the room and the people in it? Let's have a look. Here's our eye level. And here's one corner of our room. So there's one vanishing point. And so if this is our wall, we need to place our other vanishing point behind it somewhere. So let's put it here. So here we have the corner of our room, and we can get a sense, even without anything in the room, that we're high closer to the ceiling, looking more along the ceiling and looking more down at the floor. How do I go about putting figures in this room and keeping them to scale? The first thing I have to do is simply to decide how large a figure is going to be. And the easiest way to do that is to actually draw one up against this wall, close to this wall. The smaller I draw the figure, the higher the room is going to be. So I'm going to put my figure there. So let's say I wanted to draw a figure standing here. How do I work out now how high to make this figure? Because their eyes don't all line up on eye level in this perspective. What I like to do is I get the top of the head of the scale figure I've drawn, I take it to the vanishing point. Where it crosses this wall, I then draw a line through the other vanishing point. Now I draw a horizontal line across to this wall, and then I do a vertical line. This tells me how high this figure would be if it were there. But now I bring that height back over this one. And I get a figure here. But what if I wanted to draw a figure in this corner, say here? I do the same thing. I go across horizontally to the wall. I go vertically up on this height perspective line. I come back out and I get the height of a person in this same scale standing in the corner. If I wanted to draw someone here, I could take it to this wall, of course. What if we wanted to put windows and doors in our room? Well, it's the same principle as we used before. I need to establish how high I want my windows to be. And then I align the tops and the bottoms on the perspective lines. If I want a door on this wall, because I have a scaled figure up here, I can think, well, how high would the doorway have to be? Maybe there, that much above their head. So again, I can draw a perspective line here, and I get that point here on this corner, and then through this perspective, and this now becomes the perspective angle for the top of the door wherever along this wall I position it. If I wanted to put a few windows on this wall that lined up with these windows, again, I've got the point where these cross this corner. And then it's a simple case of doing that. And let's say I wanted to put a coffee table somewhere in the center of this room. It would have this sort of shape. And if we're to remain in the room, these lines need to always pass over the top of us or off to the side of us in some way. If I wanted to put a window here, that's the same size as these ones. I can do that as well, easily enough. And we can place any object within this space and align it using our 2 vanishing points. So why not choose a space, maybe even a large space such as this one, which you can look down on from some height and see if you can visualize where all of these perspective lines converge into vanishing points. But remember, you can't move your head, because if you move your head or even move your eyes while you do it, you shift your viewing position slightly, and therefore all of these things change slightly. It's hard not to do that, which is why drawing interior scenes from life can seem very difficult, because every time we shift our head, we change all the angles. But as is the case with most things to do with drawing, if we persevere and practice, we'll get better at doing what we're trying to do. So if you'd like to do some interior scenes, don't let the perspective seem too hard or too difficult. It's not that hard. The principles are the same. In 2-point perspective, when we're viewing at an angle, our vanishing points are going to be behind the walls that we're looking at. G'day, I'm Stephen Travis. I hope this has been at least interesting, but even better than that, I hope this has been helpful for you both to see perspective in interior scenes that you're looking at, but particularly if you want to create them from your imagination. But whatever you're drawing and however you're drawing it, have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.